Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Boxing Opinions. Let's be honest, there's no ladies listening, but if there is, good for you. Listen, Fury, Joshua, we've been talking about him for a while. I've decided to come up with a prediction and an analysis of what I think will go down with Fury and Joshua. It's an interesting one. I mean, the way Fury talks, it seems like AJ's doomed. Is Fury really that confident, though? That's the question. I mean, it's hard to believe the levels of bravado Fury sometimes puts up there, you know. I mean, obviously the man's got every reason to be confident. He rose to the very top of the heavyweight mountain, beat Klitschko in his own backyard, as he loves to tell everybody. And he did. And he outclassed Klitschko. And he's come back after some serious psychological issues. But the way that he dismisses Joshua, I find it interesting. He talks about him as if he's a bum, you know, as if you can't lose to him. Is he that confident, though? That's the thing. I don't think he's that confident, you know what I mean? He's a great self-promoter. He's a great fight promoter. And he's a great boxer. And, you know, part of it all is that he talks his rivals down. He talks himself up, he talks his rivals down. But behind that showboating, I've seen a few signs that he's not that confident. I mean, if you go back to the Wilder fight, after that draw, he was kissing Wilder's gloves, he was kneeling down and thanking him and being his best mate and all this stuff. And that was a sign for me that Fury was relieved. He was relieved to have got through that fight with his undefeated record intact, and to prove to himself that he still had it, you know. And fair enough, so he should be, you know. But if you'd have heard him talking before the fight, it was going to be a walk in the park. It was going to be like, you know, he's nothing for me, I'll outclass him, I'm the better boxer, he hasn't got a chance. So, I mean, obviously he talks the talk. But at the end of the day, talk means nothing, you know. If a fighter's training, if he's going into camp, that shows you he knows if the other fighter can beat him, or else he wouldn't train, would he? You know, if he's going into a ring with a trainer like Ben Davison, and he's coming up with strategies, and they're watching videos and looking for weak spots of Joshua, which I'm sure they are, that shows you they think Joshua can beat them. You know, that's a given. You always think your opponent can beat you. But after that's said and done, what I want to know is, in his heart of hearts, does Fury give Joshua any chance? Does he really think, nah, I got this guy, I got him? I don't think so. I think deep down he knows there's a good chance Joshua can tag him. He'll get some heavy combos landed during that fight, if Fury's not on top form. And that those combos, although they might not be Wilder-esque in their power, will be heavy enough to knock him out of his game. And then once he's out of his game, it's, you know, he's tightrope walking then, you know what I mean? And I think he knows that. And another point about Fury is, you know, it's not the same Fury that fought Klitschko a long time ago. Fury's coming off a double knockdown and a draw. That's the worst in his career. He's never been knocked down twice. He's never drawn a fight. So even though it was against a world champion, you know, it's still the worst fight he's ever had in terms of that. You know, there's a lot to think about it. I mean, Joshua doesn't punch as hard as Wilder, but he's got a wider variety of shots. Joshua is more, you know, stiff, less unpredictable, but he's also less likely to be flummoxed by Fury's movements, and he's more likely to solve problems in the ring. So I think Fury and his trainers will know that. I think when they add it all up, they'll probably realise there's a bit more to worry about with Joshua than there was with Wilder, who only had really one major thing to worry about. Don't get hit by the right hand. Joshua's probably got a bit more to think about. Joshua is a bit more measured than Fury, doesn't talk as much trash, tries to think before he speaks and maintain a bit of dignity, although, he loses his rag from time to time. I've seen it. He shows a bit of a street side. Jarrell Miller got under his skin big time when they were having press conferences together. He was winding him up. Dillian White got under his skin, and in the Dillian White incident, that got taken into the ring by Joshua. I think he kind of, threw the plan aside and said, let's have it. And he said that himself, that he'll do that with people. So he can be riled, he can be wound up, and Fury's obviously the king of that. So can Fury wind him up so much that it ruins his fight? He talks trash, he's taller, he's got a longer reach, he's more experienced, he knows how to push buttons. That's a lot in Fury's favour. If he can use that to his advantage, he could frustrate Joshua, starting with the mind games and taking it into the ring. So how's Joshua going to cope with that, with his taunting and his elusiveness? Is he just going to start throwing haymakers? Or is he going to try and mentally work him out? The way Fury can wind a man up, can talk shit, there's a good chance Joshua's going into that fight very, very angry. He's probably going to say something below the belt, something a bit dodgy that you shouldn't say. He can't help himself sometimes, Fury, and I think he's really going to anger Joshua. And that's not necessarily a good thing for Fury. You know what I mean? We're not dealing with Robert Duran and Sugar Ray Leonard here, where Leonard was angered in the pre-fight talks in a way that made him lose his skill set. You can't really do that with Joshua because he doesn't rely on that skill set that Sugar Ray Leonard relied on. He's more of he can do a bit of both. He's a bit skillful, he's also a bit of a brawler. If Fury needs to do anything, it's probably to try and trick Joshua into fighting more of a boxing match, into playing Fury's game, which is hit and run, duck, dive, run around. If he can somehow get Joshua to try and play that game with him, then he'll probably win. Anyway, here's my prediction. We don't know when they're going to fight. We don't know who's going to have what belts and what records. We don't even know if it'll happen. But based on everything I've seen up until this point, I think Joshua is going to stop Fury. I think Fury's going to anger him in the build-up, and it's going to give him a deadly determination to win. And although he'll probably frustrate him and get some success in the earlier rounds, I think he will start getting tagged at some point. I think Fury's 2-year layoff is going to start taking a toll at the very elite level. Although he's more fluid, got a bit more ring nous than Joshua, Joshua hasn't taken 3 years off to drink and do drugs or whatever, and that's going to count. He's no fool either, you know what I mean? He's going to be angry and he's going to have a serious will to win, and I think he'll sort of figure Fury out a little bit at some point. He'll learn where to go and how he can get in and get the punches in, and I think it's going to be similar to the Wilder fight, except I think Joshua might have even more chance of getting some power shots in there, even though he's not as powerful, because I think he'll figure him out a bit better. Fury showed against Klitschko that he can outbox the best, but that was him at his peak. He's not at his peak anymore, and Joshua's going to be much more eager to destroy Fury than Klitschko was. I think Klitschko underestimated Fury because he wasn't well known at the time, and Klitschko had been dominating for a long time. I think Joshua also is probably better now, or he'll be in his peak, than Klitschko was then. So it's a much tougher fight for Fury than the Klitschko one was, for 2 reasons. He's not as good. He's had the break, he's older, he's not in that flow that he was in back then. And his opponent's better. I think peak Joshua, is better than late era Klitschko. I mean, he proved it. knocked him out. There you go. Joshua to win it, unless Fury can trick him into fighting a boxing match, but I don't think that's going to happen. Thanks for listening. Leave your opinions, leave your comments. This is boxing opinions. Let them fly. Obviously, a lot of people will think I'm wrong. Go for it. Tell me why. And good luck to you.